Welcome to FightLine, brought to you in conjunction with Buy My Fight and Westbound Logistics Services. My name is Ben Doughty, and I'm lucky enough to be joined again by a man who really needs no introduction in boxing circles, former WBO super featherweight champion of the world, Barry Jones. How you doing?
Great to be back another week, and feel a little bit smug, if I can say so myself.
Well, I was going to talk about that. Let's, by way of a recap, let's see how we got on as tipsters last week. You sagely predicted Artur Beterbiev to stop Vorzik anywhere from 7 to 10, which was a golden prediction, as fate would have it.
10th round, yeah, 10th round, he did the job. And again, it was a very evenly matched fight, but I just felt that, you know, Vorzik makes some mistakes, and sometimes he holds his feet, and you can't do that with Beterbiev. And
it was very rather Nostradamus-like, because I fancied Vorzik because I said the better boxer. I thought he was a bit more versatile. The guy a little flat-footed, as you said, but it was the quintessence of a fighter breaking down another man.
Yeah, it really was. He's got. He looks like Wolverine, doesn't he, Beterbiev?
Yeah.
And he has that sort of strength as well. He's just crazily strong. More than being a terrible KO artist, he's brute strength.
Debilitating.
Everything hits you with, he hurts you with. Yeah.
Underrated technically, maybe?
Well, because he was a world-class amateur, so of course, and better credentials, although he didn't medal in the Olympics, better credentials, we said last week, than Vorzik. So, you know, he obviously that he knows how to use that power, and his footwork, even though he's quite flat-footed, like lots of those Eastern European fighters, he slides in the distance, and he got the win.
So that got you off to a flying start, put you 1-0 up over yours truly. You predicted Robbie Davies Jr. to win on points versus Lewis Ritson. I predicted Ritson by KO, so we were both wrong. You could argue there's a slight minor moral victory to me because I got the right winner.
Yeah, I think so.
But you must be familiar with the axiom: a miss is as good as a mile.
Well, it is, of course, and a good and it was a good fight, like we predicted. It was better than what I thought. To be fair, and I think it was in Davies to win it. I think it was relatively close. I think they had the right winner. You couldn't argue who won the fight, I don't think, but I think Davis pushed him and maybe just changed the tactics a little bit, and you know he could have, for my sake, as selfish as Robbie Davies was, if he changed his tactics, I could have had a clean sweep. Yeah, it's
not so much about you winning as much as me losing, I suspect, and being shown to be a charlatan who doesn't really know what he's talking about.
Most definitely. It's just the whole point of me being here is to prove you wrong.
I've always thought you've had a very negative ambience, but I still admire that. Listen, finally, Cheeseman and
Fitzgerald.
Just a brain freeze for a second. Cheeseman, Fitzgerald. We both picked Fitzgerald on points. But I'm going to hold my hands up here and say I thought it was wrong. I thought Cheeseman won the fight. You told me
I didn't.
A different fight than we expected. I mean, Cheeseman sticking and moving like Sugar Ray Leonard versus Marvin Hagler.
And I think he boxed tremendously well. I think he had the tactics right, and I think he showed versatility to his game that we never thought he had.
And didn't I say I thought he had that back in the amateurs, but I haven't really seen it explored in the pros.
Exactly. Yeah, and I thought that maybe because he'd been fighting one way. It's sometimes too hard to change it. But unless you change your whole training camp and your backroom team, but he hasn't. And to be fair, I think they had the right sort of tactic. But I just don't think
sustain it.
I just don't think and a couple of earlier rounds, which were he was probably. I think he was a little bit more too negative.
I scored it after the fact. I only watched it once because I know you've got a thing. You often say people say I rewatched it and I've got it this. You say to them we can swear on this. I think fuck off. There's only one way to truly score a fight organically as it happened. I didn't watch it live was the problem for me. I watched it once and I scored the first round even, the next 7 rounds to Cheeseman and the last 4 to Fitzgerald. So my card was pretty simple. It was 1-1-6, 1-1-3. Ted was disgusted. I understand there. I wouldn't call it a flat-out robbery, but I think I can understand why he feels aggrieved.
Yeah, I thought Fitzgerald won it by a few points, to be fair. That's how I saw it. And I usually automatically favour the mover because I was a mover. You can't help that. Whether you like it or not, you do sort of sway that way.
Of course.
But I just didn't think that I think when you are a mover and you are moving around a lot and the guy's pressing you, you have to do a lot more work. And I think some of those rounds where he was picking up the points maybe wasn't enough. I think maybe the second or third one of them was quite. He was just maybe you would have given it to him, but I thought he was a little bit too negative. And those little rounds like that make a huge difference come to the end of the fight.
Yeah, we call them the championship rounds, although they should count the same numerically, mathematically. It should be the same as winning any round. But I understand it doesn't make a big difference, regardless of how we spin it or slice it. You're 2-1 up at the moment, which is not too bad. I'm just glad I escaped any kind of 3-0 whitewash scenario. Looking ahead to a big show at the O2 Arena in the capital on Saturday night, we're going to start with a an attractive undercard fight. We've got Ricky Burns versus Lee Selby. Even though Selby's only really lost once at top level, where he has an early career loss, which is relatively meaningless. Yeah. It does feel a little bit like there's a less chance saloon ambience, crossroads, loser has nowhere to go type flavour.
It does. I think Selby's 32 maybe now. I think he's younger than what he looks. I think he's older than what he looks, I should say. And Ricky Burns again, he's 36. I think he is. So I think their best days are behind them, especially more Ricky's best days than Lee. But Ricky's best days were better than Lee's best days. So I think, and I think Ricky's been boxing at a higher weight, so he'd probably be used to that. He's been a world champion at lightweight. I did a little foray at super welter. Or super whatever it's called nowadays.
So, super lightweight.
Super lightweight. I get confused.
I don't like.
I want to say light welter, but it's not anymore. It's called something else.
I still stubbornly say light welter, but here's the thing, right? I don't mind super feather. I'll say you were a super feather. You weren't a junior lightweight. Although in the 80s it was junior lightweight. When Laporte was a junior lightweight, and so was Wilfredo Gomez.
But that junior was always like an American term.
Yeah, I know. I think it seems to imply youth, which is obviously erroneous, but. Regardless, I think people have almost written Ricky Burns' fistic obituary many times. I think after he lost to Crawford, then he lost to the Zetakanin, the guy from a country called Montenegro. You might have thought he was finished.
Good fighter though,
after the Ndongo loss up at light welterweight, having re-established himself and won a third world title, such as the modern day landscape, you might have thought that was him done. And then a relatively impressive performance earlier this year against Scotty Cardwell. Right.
And so he keeps coming back, but for me, I just think that his strength, Burns' strength, was his erratic movements with his feet. He was in and out, in and out, and then he was tenacious and he threw lots of punches. But over the years, because of his age, he had to adapt, and he's more flat-footed. And I think that don't bode well against someone like Selby,
who is not flat-footed, is a wonderful boxer.
Who can maybe sometimes not do enough, as we've seen against Josh Warrington. He moves around, but again, maybe draining out the feather. It might have had an effect, but you can't use that as an excuse, and he never, to his credit. But
the cut didn't help either.
The cuts were terrible. Yeah, they weren't managed very well either back in the corner. But
be careful. You've upset enough people lately. You're calling out cut men on here now as well.
No, I'm just saying. Sometimes maybe they were too back too many. I don't think Tony was doing the cuts, to be fair to him. But either way, I just think that when Selby's on form, even at this stage of his career, I think he has more. He still has another maybe push to go forward. I think Burns is sort of. I don't think he's going to world level again. In this modern era, who knows? But I just don't see it at this age and the way he fights now. And also certainly at lightweight, where there's not really a back door to a world title anymore.
No.
Until Lomachenko disappears.
By the way, I don't want to sidetrack too much, as I always say, but I think part of the appeal of this show is organic conversation between two boxing men. David Haney has been upgraded. The news comes today to WBC lightweight champion. Vasyl Lomachenko, in all his supremacy, has been declared the franchise champion. Can you imagine? I mean, I get the fact that
this franchise thing, a whole franchise. You buy into a franchise. It almost screams corruption.
It's about as naked as it gets, isn't it? This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. Either take it, buy it.
It's not a fight fault. David Haney, he wins an eliminator of such, and then or whatever it is, an interim title. Which is always weird, because now they have interim champions defending their interim title on the same bill as the regular champion is defending his title, and possibly the super champion could be on the same bill. It's bizarre. So the interim should be when the champion, the real champion, is injured or something can't fight for whatever reason, and then so you can stay active. It was a good idea. But now it's being exploited, like everything in boxing, of course.
Like weigh-ins and everything else.
So Devin Haney doesn't want to win a world title. It's not his fault. You can never blame the fighters. No, I'd take a world title if I was sat at home. Who wouldn't want to win? Who wouldn't want to win a world title? But you want to be.
Well, as fortune would have it, you did, and that's never going to be forgotten.
No, but you want to be in the ring. You want to fight to win it.
Of course.
Whether it be a vacant title, which means nothing, or you want to beat the champion. The great scenario is.
Forgive me for even bringing this up, but I won the West of England once when I was about 15, and I didn't have to fight for it. I just won it on the scales, and someone tried to give me a certificate. I didn't want it.
Like the British Schoolboy Championships were very hard. The Welsh level, you had to play so many fights. But the Boys Clubs of Wales back in the day, I don't know, it's called something different now, but the Boys Clubs of Wales, you would win that with a walkover. I had to fight for it once, and everyone was shocked. You got to fight, the fight kid I beat 4 times before, by the way. But so you get to the quarterfinals of the Boys Clubs of Wales, which is it was good to win the British version of it. But the regional parts were just walkovers, and that's what this
once you start getting a rep.
Yeah, so you don't give much credence, and that's the problem. So Devin Haney has to earn more respect now because people are going to say to him, "You've been given a world title." That's the thing. And I don't know where we're going because he's not even the same weight as these guys.
He isn't, but this is just the organic flow of the show. Let's have a look at what the odds makers are saying. You appear to be leaning the same way as me. Let's have a look. So as you can see, Lee Selby is a marginal favourite with 4 to 6. I must explain, by the way, Barry, I'm going just with the Sky Bet odds on this occasion because I think it was a little bit confusing watching the show back last week.
Get your goggles on, Grandad. Come on, there you go.
Okay, so you see Lee Selby is a 4 to 6 favourite with Sky Bet. But for the KO scenario, he's 8 to 1, which is a long shot. Because I think this does tend to have 12 rounds written all over it. By decision, he's 4 to 5. The draw is 16 to 1. One thing I've noticed over the years is the draw is a lot less of a long shot scenario than it used to be.
It used to be 25, didn't it?
It used to be 66 to 1 as a default basis. Honest to God, in Milton McCrory, Colin Jones era, it was 66 to 1 shot if you could predict that. I think these days, because of perhaps the boxing culture and
of course,
corruption possibly, the draw is a scenario
no one has no confidence in judging anymore, do they? And
you know what I mean? I think that's the best way of putting it. No confidence in judging, whether it's corrupt or incompetent or whatever else it is, or just bizarre. Ricky Burns is an outsider at 11 to 8 for the straight win. He is also 8 to 1 to end it inside the distance, and he's 15 to 8, which is a nice price. If you fancy Ricky Burns to win, I would say go for this decision rather than the straight win. You can see the differentiation there.
I would, I think either one wins on a decision. I don't see it goes the distance. I can't see a stop unless it's someone gets caught with a really good body shot. They both take a good shot. Ricky Burns got a great chin. Selby takes a good shot, and he evades. He takes a sting of lots of punches. The way he moves as well.
Yeah, rides a shot.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, and so they're both tough fellas. And even though Selby's boxing at this weight, this would be the biggest test at this weight for him.
Of course.
But then Burns is coming down, and 36 coming down from even like 3-4 pounds it's a test for you. So I think for points, and for me, to be honest, I just think Selby has enough movement, and the lack of footwork that Burns has shown in recent years, I think just gives me Selby the edge in what will be a competitive fight. I don't think it's going to be a great fight to watch, to be fair. I think it'll be competitive, but I think Selby will win by about 3 or 4 rounds.
I couldn't have put it better myself.
Honestly, that's why I got in there first, because I knew you were going to say the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. I could have put it better, but you said what I'm thinking, so I'm not going to put it better. I'm going to leave the last word to you on that one. Myself and Barry Jones are going for Lee Selby on points. Moving on, David Price versus Derek Chisora. We should get a couple of images on the screen of those two gentlemen, hopefully showing the height difference in a second. But so, David Price, talking about fistic obituaries, his has been written God knows how many times. I don't believe in telling a fighter what to do with his life or when he should quit. I think it's a decision he needs to make. Sometimes you could do with having people to care about you around. But I've been of the opinion that Price should have retired long before now.
Yeah, I have as well. You could just see the confidence drain from him after the second Thompson fight, not the first, when he got caught and hurt. And I remember, Kelly Maloney was still Frank at the time. Frank Maloney at the time.
Darren Hamilton was on the bill.
He was in he was a he then. Yeah. She was a he. I'm confused. But I'm just from Wales. I don't understand all this stuff.
Have you met Frank Maloney since?
No, I have not. We were in the green room after the first fight, and we were both and he was going, no, I want to get the rematch. I was going, I'd go straight away. I would go, because I thought he had beaten Thompson.
So
I
thought
he just got caught. It's not my fault. Well, I was really the kick that caused the whole, the downfall of David Price and the sex change of Frank Maloney.
This is the butterfly effect. That goes as far as gender transgression.
I'm changing people's lives more than anyone on the planet. I really am. Mm-hmm. From a distance.
But with the Tepper KO loss, the Povetkin KO loss.
Some of them are just good fighters, to be fair.
Of course.
But what was startlingly obvious for me is the lack of confidence. Mm-hmm. And when you're a puncher, and when you're that big and a big target, you have to go in confidence. And he lost his jab, David Price.
They call it gun shy.
Yeah,
right?
but he lost his jab. The jab of David Price was so strong and powerful that even if it didn't hit you, you would backing off. Or if it even didn't hit you on the chin, if it hit you anywhere else, it would hit you off balance, it would push you back. Like we talked this last week, that the Eastern Europeans, they hit you anyway, you feel the power, you're tentative then to fire back, to
Getting
counter.
hurt with a jab, don't you think he hasn't even hit me with a right hand or a left hook yet?
Also, it pushes you back. The heavyweights, like the old, back in the 80s, the Yanks used to poor with the jab. They push you on the shoulder. They just keep pushing their opponents off balance, pushing them back all the time. So they couldn't mount an attack, and they would line them up then for a longer right hand.
Larry Holmes?
Yeah, Larry Holmes was a great jab. And they weren't no flicking jabs. It was like premeditated stuff. And I think Price, that solid left jab that he had, he would push you back. And then you're looking to counter shots. When you get caught with a jarring punch like that, if you do counter, if your mindset count, you're countering like this. Or most of the time, you look to reset and cover up, and you can't get into the fight. And that's why he was and then he would nick your space, and he would bully you. But once he lost that jab, people could walk right up to him.
Because he was the heir apparent, and Tyson Fury was thought to be more the wild card.
Of course he was. You would have bet your house on Price before Fury at that
in
point.
those days when he was British champion.
Yeah, you would have, yeah.
We talk about lack of confidence and something in the psyche that's not quite up to the elite level achieving requirements, and yet David clearly really wants this, and I get the impression he doesn't really know what else to do except be a boxer.
I think so.
Because he's still here, still in big fights.
And he's lucky.
Stepping in for Joseph Parker, by the way.
And he's lucky. He's in the heavyweight division where they can recycle a fighter until his legs fall off.
They can.
It's that sort of division.
Tom Little has had a lot of fights and a lot of opportunities when he's been beaten a few times, including by Price.
Chisora's the fine example for that. Like Chisora gets fights and big paydays off defeats.
And do you know what? He's so popular. Have you ever been around I know you don't go to the Matchroom events so much. You don't have a reason to be there. But when he turns up at a public workout, he gets mobbed. The fans do love him, which is funny because he has a kind of strange kind of charisma that you wouldn't regard as fan-friendly, but they do love him.
I think he's genuine.
Yes.
And I think genuinely unhinged. I think nobody. I know you get premeditated stuff where people act the goat or act hard or try and be really humble, and you can see it's an act. That's not you. I think however he wakes up in the morning is how he's going to act.
He's wonderfully nuts.
So he can be horrible.
Yeah.
No, I know you almost want to get beat sometimes where he acts, the things he does, and other times he's funny. I just think he's genuinely he is what he is, and he doesn't try and hide it. And he's happy with himself, and he's had a great career. Even though he loses, except for maybe the Fury loss, the second one, but he got totally schooled.
That was a bit disappointing.
He was terrible, but Fury was really good and beat him like southpaw the whole fight and played with him. Except for that, he's always competitive in defeats
and always delivered. And
he never makes excuses when he loses, and that's admirable. In this day and age, it's not I didn't eat the right food, or my trainer dog had the shits. It's just like I got beat. Well, I'm in a fight. When he got knocked out by David Hay, and he said you got a great chin. He said, well, I got caught with a great punch. I don't care about that. I was fighting him. I was having a good go, and I got caught with a shot. He knocked me out. I'm not ashamed of that. Because he went out on his shield. I know that's a thing that people say all the time, but it's true. He sort of did. He went out trying to win the fight, and you can't argue with that. And he's had a couple of good wins. I don't think none of them have been stellar wins, but a couple of good wins. He pushed Dillian White close twice.
Certainly, and perhaps was a little unfortunate with the way that fight was flowing.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But he still but that's that's the sign of a good fight that he gets to win. Dillian White in the second fight, or whatever.
Regardless what's going on.
And so and Dillian White's regarded as one of the top fighters in the world, and so that's why he's always going to be marketable.
And he's almost like the quintessence of a gatekeeper. If you're not good enough, you're not getting past Derek. The elite fighters will beat him, but there's a level of fighter he will always beat.
But he's a gatekeeper with ambition.
Yes,
a big difference. Yeah. So he's only in this era, and in this climate, and in his weight division, he's only ever won fight from boxing. Fury, Ruiz, Joshua, whoever's going to be the champion at the time, whether it be Lineal or a belt holder. He's only ever one fight away from that.
Sure.
So this fight, you have to think this fight for him, when Price was a replacement for Parker, except for the disappointment of fighting Parker and maybe getting more adulation for it, he probably thinks it's an easy night's work.
Well, I feel as if you're on the same page as me again with this one, but one person who does fancy Price to pull off the upset, I spoke to him yesterday at West Ham Boxing Club, is the comeback in Mitchell Smith, who had this to say. Mitchell Smith, you fancy David Price?
I do, yeah. I just think he's going to be a bogey for Chisora. Chisora doesn't start at the fastest of paces, and I just think if Price can keep him long for the first 4 rounds, he'll end up walking Chisora onto one. If it goes past sort of 4, 5, 6, then I fancy Chisora, but I do think that Price will be a bogey for him.
Derek's going to come in full of confidence. I think if Price has the confidence to be solid with that left-hand jab, then I think he can make the fight for him. But I think he has to come out of the gate full of confidence behind that left hand, solid jab, and stop Derek from walking right up to him and swinging that big overhand right, which is Derek's best punch. He dips low, swings that right hand over the top.
There's not a lot of value on Chisora for the straight win with Sky Bet. He's got 2 to 7. Pretty decent price if you fancied a KO. He's 1 to 2. You know, people who, serious gamblers who make a living at this and perhaps focus in a certain area, specialise in boxing, if you want to put 30 grand on Chisora to win 10, essentially, I can understand that some people, if they're sufficiently confident, they'll go down that road. To win by decision, quite interestingly, Chisora is 5 to 1, which is a lovely price if you forgive the pun, if you fancy David to still be there at the end but still not victorious. I don't see that scenario. The draw is 40 to 1, which is an interesting follow-up to the conversation we just had in comparison to Selby versus Burns. David Price is a lovely 3 to 1 for anyone who fancies him or wants to hedge their bets. He's 4 to 1 by the KO, which I think for an extra point, you may as well go down that road. Certainly Mitchell Smith would have done. And he's 12 to 1 to win on points.
I think the only way Price wins by KO, doesn't win at all, for me. Yeah. I'm not massive. I'm not a great gambling man, but I think he has to knock Derek out. I think Derek's going to be the busier fighter. You know, he's the guy who's going to be prying forward. I could see if Derek can't get a clean shot, and Derek does pour right with the open hand of the glove quite often with that right hand over the top, so sometimes he doesn't get enough power in there that he should. And if somehow Price can be a little bit more positive and can hold him and turn him and survive,
get through the rough patches,
then a 5 to 1 for Derek to win on decision is not a little bet. But I still can't see anything but Chisora stopping him.
With you on that one again.
It's horrible because I think you can't help but like Dave Price for everything he's, you know, the way
he's a lovely fella.
The way he acts, you know, the way he conducts himself, and sometimes the way even in defeats, you know, he's quite, again, another guy who's really honest about what's gone wrong with him. But you know, I just can't see it unless that left jab, he haven't used that the last 2.5, 3 years of his career, that left jab. Yeah. So if he can use that again,
could be the fight winner.
It can make him a different fighter all over again. But if he doesn't, if he's lost that, and I did hear rumours years ago that he had a problem with his elbow, and he can't fully extend the left hand. Yeah. If that's the case, if that's true, and that's still the case now, then he doesn't beat Derek for me.
You fancy the KO, so do I. Yeah. Let's talk about exactly when that KO might occur. If we get the round group betting up for this one, you will see here that Derek Chisora in rounds 1 to 6 is 6 to 4, so it's quite a fancied option. Derek Chisora in the second half of the fight is 5 to 2. That's quite a difficult decision to make, I would suggest, Barry. I'll let you mull it over while I talk about prices odds in the same regard. David Price 1 to 6 is 6 to 1, and he is 12 to 1 to win in the latter part of the fight. You fancy somewhere in the top scenario. If you had to put your money on one scenario or the other, where would you go?
I'd go Derek 1 to 6, even though he's quite untidy with his work, Derek, so you can see why it goes longer than 6 rounds, because he gets tied up quite easily. I think the problem with Price is he runs out the gas because he panics. And when you panic, your breathing rhythms all changes, you get erratic and you start panicking and pulling and tensing up, and then you drain your energy. That's what happens when you panic. Everything works against your body. So I can't see it going. I think he drains of energy quite quick if Derek really rushes him. So I think 1 to 6 for Derek is a pretty good bet.
This is getting to be a habit, but I'm agreeing with Barry Jones once again. Oh. I'm going with Derek inside. I'm not copying you.
You've learned your lesson from last week. You can just piggyback off mine.
I've gone gun shy. I feel, is this what's going on? The psychic change has occurred.
You have.
I'd like to say a few words once again about our wonderful sponsors, Buy My Fight. It's not one of them things that they've enabled us to be able to do this and launch this show. I'm very grateful for that, and I think what they're doing is a great innovation. So, you know what? There was a fighter yesterday on Facebook. He's known to me, and you would have heard of him. I'm not going to name him because he later retracted his words on Facebook, but he basically put something very angry that was tinged with street language, and it basically said...
Yeah, I saw it, yeah.
Did you see it on my post or his own post?
Maybe yours.
Yeah. I shared it. He basically said, all you promoters who are robbing fighters, one day I'm going to rob all you. You're all... He used an expletive, which is like a slang term for the female sex organ, and then he said... All I want to do is turn up with a bag of man. He means like a gang of heavy geezers, and cause havoc at a show. He said, and all you big ticket sellers, don't you realise you're ruining the sport because you're dancing to their tune and you're setting these unreasonable expectations on some fighters. He said, as soon as you say you can't sell tickets, they can't make no dough. He was basically saying, Viva Revolution. What I would say, it's a complex argument. We're not going to go on about it too much here, but I would say for people like that, get on board with Buy My Fight and see what they can do for you, because it's not People say it's a promoter's job to sell tickets, but the trouble is there's no grassroots audience anymore for small hall boxing. That means nobody really wants to see you fight when you're starting out unless you have a big launch pad like an Olympic medal or a signing with Eddie Hearn or whatever. So you can't blame promoters for expecting fighters need to do more than just turn up with a kickback, true?
The first thing is you don't promote the sport anymore, you promote the bill, the fighters.
Yes.
So if no one knows who you are, no one's going to come and watch you. That's just it's a horrible fact. Unless you can sell tickets. Now, I don't know how people sell tickets nowadays. Putting posts on Facebook and Twitter sounds great. You got 20,000 followers on Twitter. Wow. Yeah. You can't sell 100 tickets. So it's not reality. So you have to do what I had to do when I was 18. I was doing pro at 18. I didn't know 10 people. Yeah. My dad was selling more tickets to me for me. My brother. You go to your local football club, you go to the barbers, which I did because I used to have hair back then.
Yeah, you mentioned
lovely hair I had. I had curtains back then in the 90s.
A relative shock.
Yeah, and the pub and the post office, I kind of put a poster, please, can I put tickets there? And you might not sell any, but people see it. And over time, you do. If he sells one ticket, it's done its job, and it's horrible, and it breaks your soul. But that's what you have to do, and you have to work. No one wants to work anyway. They want to turn pro and be sponsored straight away. I worked up until I won the world title.
Perhaps some of them turn pro too early as well.
Maybe they do, because you don't know anyone when you're 18. You know a handful of people, and most of them, your age, they haven't got the money to spend. Yeah. It was £10 a ticket when I was boxing. Yeah. It was £50 a ticket or whatever it is. So it's a difficult sport. It's not,
I think yours would probably still be a tenner, but
yeah, it was. Yeah. Well, no, I don't know, because if you're paying for time served, because my fights go the distance every time, so you're there for hours.
And that's a good point. You're very attracted to commercial sponsors. You'd have been, wouldn't you, back in the day? You know when they used to say Floyd was carrying guys because he had some kind of deal going on. Were you doing that? You can tell me now. It's a long time ago.
I don't know. Any more lip from you, I'll take you outside and beat you 1 point.
Yeah. But listen,
someone like this is great. You give it to a guy and they hopefully promote the sale of your tickets and help you. And it's all about your image, and it's horrible, and that's just the way it is. And I can't see it changing unless people just want to come and watch boxing.
Yeah. Which that requires a whole re-education of an audience, and it has to happen over a couple of generations. But in the meantime, we think by far your best bet is Buy My Fight. Get on board if you're a professional fighter, and this applies to you. There are so many of you out there. Finally, cut into the pièce de résistance. The best fight, and the most attractive fight on the bill for me, regardless of what Derek said about the Vaseline and how he deserved to be the the top of the bill. Josh Taylor.
Put it this way, I wouldn't if this fight wasn't on. I'm a good chance I'm going to go Saturday night, but if I'll pay for this. Mm-hmm. None of it's pay-per-view in any scenario, but in this generation, and again with all channels, not just Sky, doing pay-per-view, then of late, this fight is worth it.
It is.
Compared to others for me.
It's a genuine.
I wouldn't be paying for Derek Chisora versus Parker. I wouldn't be paying for that, to be honest.
Never mind price.
It's a good fight, actually. But it's a good fight like that, and I would love to watch it. But this fight I would pay for, because I think at this level, two genuine world-class fighters in what is a 50-50 fight. Because I can pick a winner. I could pick either one to beat the other one.
Yeah, I've been studying Regis Prograis this week, and I think he's seen a few Pernell Whitaker highlights. So either way, he kind of sits back and flicks that jab. He doesn't move a lot, but he bends and lays back from punches.
Fast hands, slow feet.
Yes,
that's what he is. Yeah. Because he said growing up his hero was Mike Tyson, so he's a bit more flat-footed. I know Tyson had actually fight fast feet and moved on the tag
and
quite
speed,
quick. But I think he wants to sit there. He wants to push off his legs.
He wasn't trying to be our lead.
He wants to sit down and he wants to explode off his punches. So I understand that, and it worked for him. He has real power. I think Josh Taylor can bang, but Prograis has real power. You see him when he hit that relic, or is it
relic? Yeah, relic.
That's Ricky
Burns has also beaten.
Yeah, but he hit him with a body shot. It looked like nothing.
Yeah.
And for that, he's a southpaw. For that left hand, he just caught him in the body. And Relic got up to his credit and carried on fighting, but it all snapped him in half, and it didn't seem like much of a shot.
And that's a great shot for the southpaw to throw. Or I'm a southpaw now actually for sitting in this position. Yeah. When you're looking up there, and then you throw that long bowler punch, and it goes straight to the middle of an orthodox guard.
Well, he threw it when Relic was throwing over the top like this, so he picks his shots well. He got a good vision as well as Prograis. He really sits back, like you say, sits on that back leg, and he's looking for you to make a mistake.
Yes.
And you can make a mistake with him, that's for sure. So you have to be in and out.
They're both southpaws.
Yeah.
And some people have got this age-old maxim that two southpaws don't make a good fight. I don't see that playing out as true in this scenario, I must admit.
I don't think so. I think, again, it's because it's not in this era where there's more southpaws than ever before in the amateur code. Back then, they weren't used to boxing each other. There was only a handful of southpaws. That's why all four fighters
Which is why they may have
struggled.
not liked it, and it made for a tentative fight.
Yeah,
Billy Joe Saunders and Willie Monroe, I remember last year, wasn't a great fight. They were both southpaws, but I think it depends on which two southpaws.
These two guys were more aggressive.
Yeah,
more tenacious than aggressive, I guess would be the word. And for me, Taylor is more of the cleaner boxer. He's more of just a pure boxer, and where Prograis is more athletic, possibly with probably more power and maybe faster hands.
The thing for me, I think, simplifying it, I think Prograis is good. I suspect Josh may be a little better and a little more versatile.
Oh, we're going to go the same way.
I'm afraid I am, because I think he's better on the inside, which I think might make a difference. I think his shots are classier. He picks them a little better.
My worry with Taylor is that grit, that Scottish grit that he has, where
it might come down to that.
If he gets hurt, it might win him the fight, but also it might make him unravel, because when he gets hurt or when he gets hit with a good shot, his natural reaction, you can see his face turn. He all of a sudden he's thinking, he gets caught with a good shot, and he goes, and he wants to fire back. He's not that natural grit.
Amir Khan kind of aspect.
But in a
he's
different,
not Scottish, but
yeah, but he guys where Khan was like, but you can see him going to have it then.
Yeah,
that real like.
Kawasaki was a bit like that too.
Yeah, of course, and it can get you a bit unstuck, I think. But also can be the difference between being a good fighter and a great fighter.
Kawasaki, when he got involved with Kessler, when people said he didn't have to, he said, "That's who I am, man." You know.
But the Byron Mitchell was the worst. He got hit than Byron Mitchell. I was ringside that night, and he was all over the place. And I was just saying, run, move. And he just went, I'm going right at you, and gambled. And then knocked Mitchell out.
That's greatness, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's a thin line, because you take a real gamble. And that was the criticism of Floyd Mayweather, that he never took that gamble. Where Leonard and all those great fighters would take that, did that risk. He always erred on the side of caution.
Uber calculating.
Yeah. But that's what he'll do. And he might come unstuck against Prograis, because if he hurts you, Prograis, he'll jump all over you. And if you fire at him, if you're not accurate, and Prograis he slips to the side quite well, Prograis, and throws that left hook over the top. And that can be a problem, especially with Taylor's. He has a low right hand that's from the southpaw stance and likes to probe you with it. But for me, I still think the cleaner boxing, if he's very disciplined, if he's on the balls with his feet, always moving after he throws a shot, not standing too upright, then I think he skates away for a win, which is going to be a real razor thin. I think he has to get off the floor to win as well, Taylor.
Do you know, I'm talking of betting, because we're in the business of, in this show, and nobody else is doing it, by the way. I don't see anybody else taking this kind of spin on a boxing show. When you're looking at making money, if you're, like I say, trying to make a living from making money about boxing, and I know a few people who do make a living that way, they bet on the horses too, but I know that they also have some heavy flutters on the fight game and they do well. You can get odds on Taylor to be knocked down, to get off the floor to win.
I'd go for that.
You can bet on one or both fighters to be knocked down. These are all tips. And you know what, as we go on with this show and we find our feet increasingly with it, we can show more odds. I can't show every scenario, because I think it would take too long, and I think it would detract from the charm of us discussing boxing. But you can get those kind of odds if you have that kind of conviction. Looking at the odds for this one, you can see Regis Prograis is the favourite at 8-13, and he is 11-4 to win by KO and 6-4 on points. Now the draw is only 20-1, which is another short price on the draw, but that's quite common, as I said. 11-8 on Josh Taylor for the straight win, which looks pretty good to me. 5-1 for him to finish it inside the distance, and 9-4 for him to win by decision. You can have, I believe we have round group betting if we want to have a take. I've just realised, by the way, Barry, this bit is pointless. Have you noticed that? This says it all.
Yeah,
this is just a repetition. You live and learn. What can I tell you? Can we get the round group betting? Did I send them to the production lads? I believe I did. Look. Okay, Regis Prograis in the first half of the fight is 7-1.
You could do that.
6-1,
and that obviously reflects that Prograis has the naturally heavier hands.
Yeah.
But my first instinct was straight away it goes the distance. I think Taylor gets hurt, has a few rocky moments, but wins on points. That was my natural. And I always stick with.
You're sticking with that instinct.
But I'm not tonight. I'm not today. I'm not going to stick with that today. What I'm going to stick with is Taylor, round 7-12. Where he gets hurt, he gets up. Prograis chasing the fight, because Taylor's established a decent lead. Yeah. Prograis away from home, not used to the massive crowd, chases the fight with you thinking his power's going to get him out of trouble, and gets caught by Taylor. between round 7 to 12. There you go, 10
so
to 1.
you're going Taylor, round 7 to 12 with 10 to 1, which would really make a nice accumulator. Let's talk accumulator then. I am going Selby on points, as I believe are you.
Yes.
So, okay, Selby on points, both of us. I'm going Chisora, stoppage, KO, whatever you want to call it.
Yep. Same as.
I'm not going for rounds, I'm just saying Chisora inside at some point.
Well, I'm going to be more specific.
Go on, then. Make your accumulator a bit more.
So I'm going to go Selby on points.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Chisora 1 to 6
yeah.
for the KO. And I'm going to go Taylor 7 to 12 for the KO.
That's Barry Jones' accumulator. Mine is Selby on points, Chisora by KO, and Taylor for the straight win. I guess that we will be back next week to find out how well we did. I do need to claw some ground back. You know, this is personal. There is no mutual respect. It's just a straight out contest. We'll do whatever we need to do. I've even thought about nobbling fighters.
But I've given you an opportunity here because I've gone up on a limb.
You've stuck your neck out, yeah.
I've stuck my neck out. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the last time I stuck my neck out, I got put down 6 times. So.
Yeah, I remember, you know, there was some...
At least one of us remembers.
I believe there's a simmering resentment to this day when apparently Ian Dark said, never been on the floor before, Barry Jones, and Glenn McCrory said, well, he's making up for it tonight.
Yeah, it was after 4 knockdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah, the smugness of McCrory there. It was funny, yeah.
I'll have to get you to...
But I had the last laugh because I went down twice more, so what does he know?
Quite. Listen, thanks for watching. We'll be back next week with more fearless prognostications on your favourite sport. Thank you for Barry for showing up once again, while you still can. In the meantime, be lucky and keep punching.